way I carry myself has convinced them that I'm tall. With a stretch of my neck, the pull of my shoulders, I throw my hands up like I'm reaching for something. Like a bar I set too high for myself. Because if I could just show them that I can grow to the size of my perfection, then they won't see that I actually just grew to the size of my grief. Thought I'd try it on for size, even though not many things fit me. Even though this world wasn't made for me, even when my own skin doesn't fit me, a whomping 5 feet of body, but I grew an extra inch of clever, an extra inch of wit, an extra inch of desperation, an extra inch of survival, an extra inch for the times that the boys said that if I wanted to play, I'd have to keep up. Didn't say that to the boys who couldn't keep up, an extra inch of bronze muscle to prove to my mother I could be someone else, and pray to her God for him to just make me tall enough so I can outgrow the part where I bleed like other girls do. Cause these days I'd rather just risk bleeding like other queers do. With every strap of my binder, shoulders rolled back, every gasp of my breath suffocating the girl out will drown my mother's voice out too, and I want that most days. Till it actually fades away, like her body did, like her ghost did, like my mind did. When I grew that extra inch, that time I sat stretched out in the back seat of the cop car, pulled between my father's grasp in the middle seat and my forehead longing to be pressed against the glass, his weeping hug, the kind of hug that wasn't for me, the kind that let my body still while his God pulled out a pocket lighter and burned holes in my safety net. It's that kind of stillness where body stood paralyzed while my drunk mother, bloodshot eyes, screamed final breaths over the body of her dead son. It was in that dark parking lot that night when I grew that extra inch, when her hands were ripped from my hands, stretched between her drunken gaze and my numb, pulled between her desperation and someone else's will for me to survive that night. It was in that rapid growth that night that I convinced myself to play small inside. And now I watch myself outgrow this part. That box I made for myself, lined with barbed wires and no trespassing signs. Guard dogs in a secret entrance, the one that no longer fits and nobody can tell me why. The one I know as a place already outgrown so I can find the places I deserve to inhabit. Like a summer night under blankets of stars, or a moving sidewalk under dancing feet, or the space under the moon that won't stop watching, like my softening gut. Like my bones filling with a mother's soft voice reading me to sleep, because my grief is not a fairy tale, but a singing place calling me to come home. So if I were to grow to the size of my grief, I would actually grow to the size of the search for my truth. Like a map to freedom in my skin, or one step closer to letting my bones off the hook. Or something that sounds dreamy but certainly doesn't feel that way all the time. I would grow to the size of the cry of that itching thing I felt for a while, but never had the courage to scratch. Never had my strength to reach my hand to body with every ounce of patriarchy's grip pulling it away. I would grow to the size of the one step forward I take, even with my own mother's grief tied to my ankles like that ball and chain I was gifted as a forgotten child. Or I'd grow to the size of what it would be like to breathe again. To let these binder straps wrap me so tightly that the fabric begins to break and we unravel together in the softness of time. Or I'd grow to the size of a utopia that isn't a place but the process itself, the very act of engaging with the tension of resistance. Or maybe it's just in the sweetness of knowing that if even for a moment there could be a day where I feel understood, or there could be a day where I don't have to. Because even in the opacity of this world, there is love, and maybe we don't have to be understood to be loved, and maybe I don't have to keep adding inches of grief because numbers become irrelevant when time slips away and the clock breaks, and the oceans fade, and I can breathe again, and I can grieve again. So it won't grow to the size of my grief because I'm actually just growing to the size of me, this whomping 5 feet of body that's grown so strong that finally even my own broken heart can't break it.